This is a steal from the first goal. So let's see what went wrong. First of all, Dallo should be closer to block this cross. You gotta snuff it out at the source, otherwise, you know, it can lead to a goal, which it obviously did. And then if we look at the marking situation, so this is actually Brighton's left back over here. And he's obviously inverted, and he's making a run into the box, which draws Mazraoui. And this is Matoma, the winger, who's usually Mazraoui's job, but since he's picking up the fullback, it should be Ahmad getting back and tracking Matoma, which he's obviously not doing there. Maguire is on Welbeck here. Is that Welbeck? I think that's Welbeck. But basically, the marking situation is okay in the middle of the box, but not out on the wing. And so as we see, as the ball gets crossed in and it reaches the middle of the box, Maguire is right there to clear the ball, but for some reason he doesn't. And we'll see a different angle in a second where it definitely looks like he could clear it, but he decides to leave it. Maybe he didn't think Matoma was over here, maybe he thought it was going to go out of bounds or something, but definitely a bad decision. And again, Ahmad's not even on screen here, he should be going back and getting on Matoma. And lo and behold, obviously Matoma picks up the ball here, and Mazraoui, who is tracking the left back here, has gone over to him, but he doesn't do enough to actually stop the cross. And Maguire looks like he's on this left back. Martinez is over here dealing with whoever this is, and Welbeck is completely wide open in the middle. Now, could that have been mitigated? I really don't know, because I don't know if it's reasonable to ask Casemiro to drop in this far, which in hindsight he probably should have, but they've clearly got a 4-on-3 overload in the box here, and that's just not really acceptable. I think the main issue is Ahmad didn't track Matoma, and there's a lot of circles there. But I think that's where the overload came. Yeah, just not really good. And obviously the ball gets played in. As the ball comes across, Maguire is too close to this left back here. And in fact, he's almost further outside the box than the left back, and he can't get his foot on the ball, which, you know, we just mentioned that Welbeck is free, and obviously that leaves him for a tap-in, which he does tap it in. And, you know, former United boy, he scored a lot against us. Kind of wish we had him still at the club, considering our striker situation over the last couple of years, but it is what it is. Happy for the lad, I guess. And he seemed to say that Harry Maguire seemed to say that he couldn't get to the ball or something, if I could read lips, which, if you look at this angle, it certainly seems like you can get to the ball, Harry, so I'm not exactly sure what that was about. And again, Ahmad standing still there, should be tracking this runner. So this is after the second goal. We pretty much go down there straight away and equalize. But when Ahmad plays the ball in, we can see Rashford is clearly offside here. I know the line's not straight, but we can see he's clearly offside. And that was the story of the game, really, for Marcus, mostly. Like, if you look at these stats, 0 offsides for Brighton, 6 offsides for Rashford. That's kind of hilarious. If you look at the possession, we had more of the possession, even though Brighton is supposed to be a possession heavy side. Although under the new manager, I'm not sure if that's completely true. Passes, we were leading. Shots, they were ahead, but I wouldn't say they were gilt-edged shots, you know, other than the 2 goals we conceded. We had 12 interceptions. Our pressing was good, especially in the first half, before it fell off. And, you know, so it was a fairly even game overall. But this offside issue is just really annoying, isn't it? And then, so at halftime, this was a very surprising sub. Joshua Zirkzee came on for Mason Mount, and that was very surprising, in my opinion, because Mount was probably the best player of the half. Of course, we'd learn later on that he had an injury issue, which is why Zirkzee came on. We did need a striker presence up top, but I didn't think Mason Mount was the right substitution. But then again, who do you take off? Probably Rashford, but anyway. So now this is the lead up to our goal. So the second goal of the game, our goal to equalise. And if you ever look at this shot, you can see how compact Brighton's shape is. You know, talk about a high line. Not just a high line, you want your team to be compact like this, so there's very, very, very little space to play through. And for most of the game, we couldn't play through them at all. We had to go around the outside or things of that nature. But before the goal, for the goal, I should say, it's the only time that we pretty much played through the press. But you can see Rashford already in an offside position, saying, why didn't you play the ball, Harry? He clearly had made a run, but Harry didn't find him. Xerxes already in an offside position. Ahmad in staying onside is in the blind spot of the defender, and that's actually going to be very crucial to the goal. So as Maguire tries to pass, I think this is Welbeck. He's trying to put pressure on the ball, and he's trying to cut off the passing lane as well. But Maguire's able to thread through it, and Mainu, with his awareness, is able to do a little layoff to Mazraoui, and Mazraoui is able to turn and play it in between the fullback and the centre back. Oh no, that's the winger and the fullback. And Ahmad is able to run onto it, and that's how the chance is created. Again, this is like the only time that we were able to actually play through the defensive line. But when we did play through them, it was very effective because it led to the goal, obviously. So Ahmad here carries it all the way into the box, and as the defender is scrambling to get across, Ahmad is able to juke him and cut inside and shoot on goal. The shot may have been off target. I don't know, maybe it would have curled in, but it hits the defender and ricochets in. The goalkeeper can't really do anything about that, and we go 1-1. That's good. Ahmad had a shocking first half, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but this made up for it. And we learnt, before the game that his stepmother had passed away, so it was brave of him to, even put on a shirt, let alone start. And yes, he didn't have the best game, but scored the equalizer goal, which is of course very important. And then the second sub happened, which is Garnacho on for Rashford. Rashford was not effective at all, and as we'll see, Garnacho had not an immediate impact, but he did have an impact. So this was a goal that was ruled offside, and it would have been the goal that would have put us ahead, so let's see what happened. So we can see this is clearly a counter-attacking situation. Ahmad has the ball over here. It's 3-on-3. We've got Bruno making the run, which will become important later on. Other two Brighton players scrambling to get back. So go a little bit forward. Ahmad has drawn the attention of this defender, and Bruno is going to make this overlapping run. This centre-back can't really do anything about anything. He's keeping his eye on Xerxes, I guess. And this fullback development is keeping an eye on Garnacho. So Bruno gets the ball in this situation, and if this was FIFA or EAFC or whatever, and if this was any other situation, Bruno plays a better ball right into the path of Xerxes, and Xerxes latches onto it and scores. Like, it should be a pretty easy tap-in. But I don't think what's talked about often is that Bruno's pass was actually quite off. So Xerxes, because the ball is so far in front of him, he can't really get to it. And we'll talk about him sliding later on, but he tries to slide for the ball, and he can't get to it. But luckily, Garnacho is steaming in to get onto the ball, right? And then he gets to the ball, and he shoots, and he finishes. It's on target, it's in the goal and everything. But it just hits Xerxes on the knee before it goes in. And as we'll see later, it's deemed offside. So again, this is the Bruno's cutback across the goal. It evades the goalkeeper, but it's too far in front. Now, if you look at Xerxes' body position here, when the ball is in front of him perpendicularly, I don't think Xerxes needs to dive. But maybe his momentum carried him through, I don't know, but he chooses to dive anyway. Maybe, because sometimes strikers dive just to show that, they went for the ball. And when the ball gets to Garnacho and he shoots, like, it's clearly going to go in, but Xerxes' knee is there, and it hits the ball before it goes in. It did kind of look like he intentionally tried to knee it as well, but it could also be said that he was just trying to stand up. Either way, because the ball was played forward, all the Brighton players are here, it's clear offside. Very disappointing, because we would have gone 2-1 ahead. In fact, the score says up here on the top left that we did go 2-1 ahead. It is what it is. The game of margins, game of inches, whatever you want to call it. And then this set of substitutions happened, which, was very mind-boggling, to say the least. De Ligt came on for Maguire. Yes, we saw that in the last game, so not too surprising. McTominay coming on. Again, not too surprising. But Bruno Fernandes coming off. Wasn't sure about this decision at the time. Probably the wrong one in hindsight as well. And with Mason Mount already off, who was going to play attacking midfielder? Yes, Scott McTominay. Yes, he can play there, but he's more of a finisher than a creator, where we clearly needed a creative spark in there for anything, really. And yeah, it wasn't a great move in hindsight. You can just see from Bruno's face when he's being taken off, like, bruh, boss, what are you doing to me? I mean, yeah, mind-boggling. And then after we go down a goal, which we'll see soon, you can see his face again. He's like, yeah, not amused. Or he is amused. He's bemused. And then nothing much happened until the 90th minute, where Antony came on for Ahmad. And, he would have an action that we'll talk about, and he didn't do that well. So again, this is the cross that led to the second goal for Brighton, and a heartbreaking loss for us. 1-1, 95th minute, 7 minutes of added time. If we deal with this cross, it pretty much ends in a draw. It just is what it is. If you look at the situation in the box, we've got zonal marking happening here. 3 attackers to 5 defenders. Fairly standard. If you look at this middle zone, 3-on-3, everyone's got their markers. Not too fussed about that. This is Antony here, keeping an eye on... I don't really know who this is. And Garnacho, maybe keeping an eye on him. And maybe there's someone off the frame here, or something like that. But that obviously leaves this man, who... maybe it's a Dingra. I'm not sure. Free. And he'll be very, very key later on. So obviously, ball evades everyone in the middle of the box, and it lands to the one man that's free. Right, no one gets a head on it. And Antony goes to close him down. Lisandro Martinez is on his way as well, but he's being a little bit more conservative. And Antony actually gets there to make the challenge. So Antony gets there. And look at where the ball is. This is a clear 50-50 duel. If you win this and clear it, it's game over, most likely. Right? But Antony is very weak in the challenge, and he loses the ball. Absurd. And by the way, look at where our players are. Numbers-wise, we're doing pretty well in the box. We've got 4 here, 3 here, to 4 attackers, 5. So numbers-wise, we have an advantage. But what happens is, and this is unforgivable, look at Casemiro's position. So this is Casemiro here. He was clearly defending the front post on the cross. So now the ball's on the opposite side. He's at the back post. What he should do is check his blind side. Yeah, look at his man. And definitely don't run out here. Yes, we've got the numbers advantage, but you should know that you're the last man and there's a man behind you. And, you should stay in your zone. If you look at what happens, Casemiro has gone from this position to here. So again, Antony loses the duel. The ball's here right now. So Casemiro is clearly thinking, okay, Antony's going to win the duel, and what? I'm going to run all the way down and score with his sprint speed? With Brighton defenders here? Come on, man. You should be back here defending, this man, who isn't the man who scores the goal, but if you were in that position, maybe he could have snuffed out the chance. So what happens is the ball gets played back to this man on the edge of the box. Adingra makes a run here, and the ball finds its way to him. As the ball's played in, we've got 4 players around him. Yeah, the ball's going to get played to the back post. We've got 4 players around him. Not one can block the cross. And again, the first goal was due to 2 non-blocked crosses. So it shows you how important blocking the cross is. Especially when this could have been a shot as well. But maybe Masrai would have had the shot angle covered. But he plays a brilliant ball to the back post. And again, look at what Casemiro is. His starting position was here. Went jog about and realized, oh crap, I should probably get back in. And came here. Leaving 1, 2, 3 players free. Yeah, not good. And guess where the goal comes from? The ball makes its way to the back post. João Pedro, there's literally no one marking him. There's no one marking him. There's no one marking him. Anana is there, but the ball is a great header, which actually an easy header because he's all by himself. And again, Casemiro's chilling. He's chilling on the penalty spot. This is exactly where he was before. Before he left, this is where the man was. Yeah, and then he decided to jog, try to get on the counter attack or something, which shows a real lack of discipline. I mean, look at this game and situation. I don't want to blame it all on one guy, but game and situation, with how experienced he is, he should know that he should stay in that position and let You know, maybe Anthony, if he wins the duel, players like Garnacho, who's actually off the screen. Attacking players go ahead and make the counter attack if it leads to that, and get the win. It shouldn't be you, Casemiro, joining the attack. I know we want to win the game, but the first step is to not lose the game. And guess what? We lost. So Casemiro doesn't track his man. João Pedro heads it in and scores. Absolutely disappointing. Especially at the time of the 95th minute. And then, they just toyed with the ball until the game ended. Yeah, very poor. So to start the game, I thought the pressing was strong, again, which has been a theme this season. We didn't have too much joy playing out from the back because their defending was quite good. And we did try to go over the top, but, a lot of offsides. What I did like was that we kept Mitoma quiet. He was obviously Brighton's most dangerous threat leading into the game, although I was afraid of Minte as well. Most of the attacks came down the right-hand side through Minte, but yeah, we kept him quiet. And Mitoma, which I liked. Some of the refereeing was horrendous as well. Like Brighton were pulling people back, tugging on shirts, deliberately handballing when they fell on the floor. No yellow cards. Come on, ref. Craig Pawson, come on, man. Like, it's just unacceptable. And if we do that, it's a straight yellow. If not, straight red. No, and yeah, Veltman got in some dirty. I say dirty, but maybe gamesmanship. I don't know. Little hits here and there, deliberate handball. One thing I do have to do is praise Brighton's high line. We talk about playing the high line and how Maguire can't play the high line, and that's true. And if you look at Brighton, if you go back and look at, when I showed you how compact their shape was, like, that's the line we want to play, eventually. No space in between the lines. Yes, you're susceptible to counterattacks over the top, but if the offside trap is done well, we found out. Rashford was offside maybe 3-4 times in the game by himself, so yeah, I have to praise the high line for that. Showed great defending discipline, game plan discipline, trusting in your system, in your manager. Very impressive young manager as well. Second game in charge. And then once Mount went off, I think Xerxes had some decent pressing stats last season for Bologna, but the pressing clearly fell off when Mount went off in the second half, and just our control of the game fell off as well. And again, the goal comes down to set piece defending, and that was a major problem last season. We've got a new set piece coach in. Looks like that hasn't helped quite at all. Yes, it is the second game of the season, but disappointing. And the game was summarized by poor decision making. Ahmad in the first half had many opportunities to, really impact the game. He did in the second half with the goal, but yeah, overall, in general, from the players, Bruno as well, some of the decision making was poor. So I can only give this game a 2 out of 5. Okay, remember 2.5 is the average. Again, I'm not going to go over the top and say, like, this was the worst game of the season. We were away from home, and it's in the Premier League. Brighton are a respected side with a new manager. We don't really know what to expect, but we know they have some good players, good tactics. I'm not going to go over the top and say this was absolutely disastrous and give it a 1 star, but definitely a disappointing loss, a 2-star game. So again, time for the player ratings, and 2 will be the base score of all the players. If you did a little bit better, a little bit worse, then they're going to be rated accordingly, but 2 will be our base score. And Onana, I'll give him a 2. I thought his passing was much improved from last game. He had some really nice pings out towards the wingers. Yeah, I thought his passing was much improved, but in terms of goalkeeping, wasn't asked to do much. Couldn't do anything about the 2 goals, I would say. So, yeah, just an average game from him. Dalot, a mixed bag for him, I would say. His cross in the 11th minute, I think it was, to Ahmad, where if Ahmad was right-footed and got his right foot on the ball towards the goal, it would definitely been a goal. One of the best crosses I've ever seen from Dalot on his weaker foot as well. But some of the more simple passes, I think he made some mistakes. Defensively, he was okay. Did okay with Minte, but didn't lock him down by any means, like Bezraoui did to Mitoma on the other side. Other than the goal, of course. So I thought it was a mixed bag, average game from him. A score of 2. Alexandro Martinez, I'd give him a 2 as well. Really didn't notice him much. We know he's a warrior, puts his body on the line, plays some nice line-breaking passes that didn't lead to anywhere in this game. Yeah, just an average game from him, I think. Didn't notice him. Next is Maguire. What a far cry from the last game. I mean, last game he was one of the contenders for man of the match, and this game, just his weaknesses were on full display. We know that when aerial balls come in, crosses through the air, he's one of the best at getting his head to it. And that's why he was signed, because he was just so good at it at Leicester that we had to have him. But crosses along the ground or crosses at waist height, yeah, he's not the best at dealing with it, is he? And we saw that in the first goal, where first one, I think he could have dealt with it. You know, maybe he was afraid of kicking it towards his own goal for an own goal, for an own goal or something. But I thought he could have dealt with that first. And then when the ball comes back in from Matoma, his positioning was wrong. He couldn't block the cross at the front post, and it goes into Welbeck, and he scores. Obviously, just not great, not great. Best I can give him, 1.5 stars. Poor. Mazraoui, again, I thought he was solid, and he got the assist for Ahmad's goal as well. It wasn't the most difficult pass to play, but it is a pass that had to be played through the line. Had to make a quick decision on that, and he did. Did really well on Mitoma. Again, I thought Mitoma would be a big threat going into the game, but he was very, very, very quiet, other than the assist for the goal, which I don't put it on Mazraoui, although he probably should have blocked the cross. Didn't. Yeah, I think he had a solid game. And 2 good games in a row for £15 million from Bayern. Again, bargain. 2.25 stars. Yeah, Casemiro, I mean, I'd have to say the worst performer on the pitch, in my opinion. Again, it's just my opinion. He just gives the ball away way too many times. Way too many times. And there's a stat comparing him to Ugarte, who hopefully we bring in, where Casemiro gives the ball away like 12 times a game, or 12 times per 90. That's way too much. You can't have the CDM giving away the ball 12 times, double-digit times. Come on, man. And the thing is, what's so frustrating is he sees the passes that he wants to play. You know, if you compare him and Bruno, right? Bruno sees the pass and more often than not executes the pass. Okay? Not for the goal that we got disallowed today. But in general, Bruno looks up, sees the picture, sees the pass that he wants to play and executes it. But Casemiro, because of his experience, and he's a good player, or he used to be at least. So he looks up, sees the picture, knows the pass he wants to play, he just can't execute it. He goes well short, gets intercepted, or goes way long. So he's got the vision, he just hasn't got the execution. But, you know, it's so tough because when you see the pass that needs to be played, you should play it, I guess. You know, some players' problems are they can't see the pass that needs to be played, like McTominay. I think McTominay has the ability to play a bunch of passes, he just can't see the passes. Whereas Casemiro is the opposite. Casemiro sees the passes, knows what's going on, game awareness is great, he just can't execute them. So frustrating. Again, he made some good challenges in our box as well when the wingers were coming inside. But again, the most damning thing was the second goal. You can't just go run about, walk about on a casual stroll thinking, what, you're going to lead the counter-attack and score the goal on the other end? Come on. We know the sprint speed. There is no sprint speed for Casemiro. The word sprint doesn't exist in his land. And that's not to be harsh, it's just true. So, I mean, you just have to mark that zone. There were 3 players free there, so maybe it would have landed on another player's head, but we know how good Casemiro is in the air. So when the ball gets crossed into the back post for the second goal, I think Casemiro, if he was in that zone, he would have headed it away. But he chose to leave the zone, which led to the goal. Again, I'm not putting everything on him, but overall in the game, like, he really stood out as being a poor performer. So I'm going to give him 1.25 stars. Kobbie Mainoo. Again, I have to say how impressed I am with his defensive output. And he's just running and running and running and doing all the running for Casemiro. And as much as I'm impressed by it, his interceptions, his tackles, I'm worried because by the end of the game, he was very, very tired. And we want Kobbie Mainoo to be fresh at the end of the game, to be creative. You know, we know he's a great ball carrier, but he hasn't been able to do that much. He's being asked to link the play from the middle with short passing. But I wish we could get someone who would free him up a little bit more to get into the final third, where, you know, he's got a decent shot on him as well, and he's creative, you know, in the tight spaces. I wish we could see him further forward. Overall, impressed by him. Fell off in the second half because he got tired. He got the hockey assist for the goal as well. Nice little layoff to Mazraoui. So overall, a positive game, but not an overwhelmingly great game. So I'll give him a 2 as well. Even though I want to be biased and give him, 2.5, but I can't. Mason Mount, I thought he was the best player in the first half for me. He actually played more as a striker, I thought, because Bruno was dropping quite deep. He had some nice tidy passing, good touches, good hold-up play, I thought. Just keeping it nice and neat, keeping the game ticking. Very positive, and we know about his pressing game. Yeah, very effective in the first half. When he went off, we noticed a definite dip in our press. Yeah, hopefully the injury scare isn't serious. Ten Hag always says we need to wait a couple of days to find out. Mason Mount, I mean, we know he's a good player, definitely a good squad player. Even though it's hard to envision him in the starting 11 when everyone's fit, definitely a good squad player at the very least. We need him to be healthy, and if he's injured again for a long time, then yeah, it's going to be tough. But I thought he was the best player of the first half for sure, 2.25 stars. Marcus Rashford, yeah. Look, I don't want to say too much about him, but he didn't have a good game, did he? He's just continually offside, and we saw that last season. I don't know why you don't just look across the line. Like, some of it was very good Brighton defending, where they would, if it was on FIFA or EAFC, you have the offside trap button and every defender runs up, or the backline runs up. Some of it was that, and some of it was really good Brighton defending, where Marcus was onside, and then they push the line up, and then Marcus gets caught offside. Okay, that's fair enough, but making the run too early, or, things like that, yes, maybe the ball should come a little bit earlier, but you should be experienced enough to know. And he's got the pace. He's got the pace on most left backs here. Or right backs. Like Veltman was a right back. Veltman ain't catching him. So he could have given him a yard, maybe a couple of yards, and not been offside. Especially for that equalizer goal where, he shoots, comes off the keeper, comes off his heel and goes in. If he was onside, like, obviously that would have changed the tone of the game. But yeah, and I really liked his attitude last game in terms of his defensive work, pressing, but this game I think he reverted straight back to the Rashford from last season. And by the way, I say all this, Rashford is one of my favourite players over the last handful of years. I mean, I love this guy. So it's just sad to see this downturn in form that's lasted a whole season, and now it's, I don't know, continuing on to the next season. Like, considering his status, considering the ability that we know he has, he should be one of the best players on the pitch. But he's just not, for whatever reason. And yeah, I think he maybe needs some time on the bench. I don't know. Although, is Ten Hag going to do that? I don't know. I don't think so. But something's not clicking for him. Yeah, 1.25 stars. I think I could have been more, considering how I talked about him, I think I could have been more harsh and given him 1.5 stars. But he wasn't absolutely horrendous. It's just very disappointing. Because we know the heights he can reach. So next we come to Bruno, and he wasn't having the best game, I would say. Some of the decision making was a little bit off. Some of the passes were a little bit off, especially for that disallowed Garnacho goal. I thought he could have made a more accurate pass for Xerxes, even take a little bit of pace off it, although I understand that he needed to beat the goalkeeper first. Yeah, just a game that was a little bit off for him, but the fact that he got substituted boggled my mind. Ten Hag has refused for 2 straight seasons to take this man off for any reason. And for some reason, for no reason really, he got taken off. I mean, I don't know how to explain that. His face told the whole story, really. And I just... yeah. In terms of Fernandes himself, just an average game, 2 stars. Ahmad, look, he obviously got the goal, the equalizer goal, but his first half was very poor. Again, this is on the backdrop of him having his stepmother pass away, which is obviously very, very tragic. He put on a brave face, put on the uniform, and played for the badge. I'm not denying that he played for the badge. Much more noticeable than Rashford was in terms of his defensive work as well. But his first half decision making just was not there. Seemed like he lacked a little bit of confidence, or maybe his mental wasn't quite right. But he stuck with it. He showed character to bounce back and score that goal. But if you look at his overall performance in the game, because of how bad the decision making was in the first half, and again, he's a young player. These are the games that, build experience, build knowledge, and he'll be a better player for it. But overall, even though he scored that equalizer goal, I can only give him a 2. Next, Xerxes came on, and again, substitutes in general are going to have a quarter less star than everyone else, just because, You know, if you don't play from the start, then I can't really give you the same rating as the starters. That wouldn't be fair. But also, they don't need to do as many actions to get up to that 2 stars, which we'll see later on. Xerxes came on invisible, I thought. His pressing wasn't as good as Mount's, even though he had good pressing numbers, like I mentioned in Bologna, just not on Mount's level pressing-wise. Didn't get the ball a lot. We know that strikers in Man United don't really get the ball a lot, especially against this Brighton system where, because of the high line, someone like a Højlund would have been much better suited in terms of getting him behind. So it just wasn't really the game for Xerxes, I would say. And the slide, we've got to talk about the slide. I thought he didn't need to slide, to be honest. But maybe his momentum carried him through. Maybe I'm being too harsh on that slide point. Because if he doesn't slide, then Garnacho has a tap in and it's a goal. And it was going to be a goal before he hit his knee, right? So, yeah, can't give him more than 1.25 stars. Garnacho, yeah, should have scored the winning goal, or at least the goal to put us in the lead. Much more energy than Rashford, I would say, going forward and coming back defensively. Didn't have too much to do, but was impactful. 2 stars. McTominay, I thought he did quite well. He was the outlet on the ball. Obviously, you can't expect him to do the role that Bruno would do. Okay, so we're not looking for that. In terms of McTominay, I just want him to do the role that he's capable of doing. Yes, he didn't score the goal or get in any dangerous situations, but he came on quite late, so he didn't have too much time to do that. I thought he got the ball. He made a couple of nice turns, a couple of nice passes. Overall, I think it's a 2 game from him. And he's been linked to Napoli. It looks like that move is going to go through, so if that's the case, then thank you for your service, Scotty. Next is De Ligt, who came on. 1.75 stars. Wasn't noticeable. For the goal, he was defending, you know, well, he was in the middle of nowhere, really, but it wasn't his, like Casemiro. Let's not go back there. Pretty much didn't have too much to do. He made one good block on a cross where he dived for it, and if he was there where Maguire was in that situation, I think he would have lunged and got his foot on it. Again, does that fly in the back of our own net? We'll never know. But I think he probably would have cleared that and it wouldn't have led to the first goal. I think he'll definitely start next game. I mean, he has to start next game, really. Even though Maguire had a good game last game, clearly did not have a good game this game. I think Ten Hag will bring him in. So, yeah, an okay game for him. Anthony, yeah, nah, you can't be that weak in the duel. But when you come on in the 90th minute, like, you can have 1 or 2 actions in the game max. So every action you have to make it count. And on that 50-50 duel, you have to go in there stronger. Yes, he was in the box. Yes, you could have been afraid of giving a penalty. But he actually got his foot on it. When you get your foot on it, you have to win the ball. At least clear it or something. And, you know, it obviously leads to the second goal. So can't give more than a 1.5. Man of the match. This is tough. Very, very tough because, I mean, are there really any candidates? I was tossing up between Mazraoui and, yeah, Mazraoui. I thought he had a good game, but probably not a man of the match game. I think in terms of the best player on the pitch today, even though he played only one half, it was Mason Mount. I know he gets a lot of hate from people because he's not like flashy. He just keeps the game nice and simple. But that's what we needed in the first half, especially when we didn't have a striker. You know, his hold-up play was nice, positive effect on the pitch. Didn't do anything wrong. Just got substituted at halftime, which, you know, we thought was an injustice. But he's obviously injured. If he's out for a long time, I'll be disappointed. And either way, man of the match, which isn't saying much. 2.25 stars, Mason Mount. So that's the end. Disappointing result, to say the least. 2-1. Next game is Liverpool. If we beat Liverpool, 6 points out of 9. Not a bad start. I probably would have taken that at the start of the season. But I, expected we'd beat Fulham and Brighton and lose to Liverpool. But now we're going to have to beat Liverpool, which at Old Trafford is not a tough ask. I mean, is a tough ask. It's not an impossible ask, but we'll see how that goes. They have a new coach as well, of course. Looking forward to that game. Very disappointed about this one. Yeah. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I want to try to monetize the channel. I'm going to get like 1,000 subscribers or something. So please help me get there. Leave any comments, etc. And I'll see you next week. Peace.